Good morning, everybody. Some of us are not here. We were on time. Is Cindy? Cindy's here? Who's got it?
She's from TASB. She's our consultant from TASB.
Okay. Just checking.
Good morning, board members, administrators, and college staff, and visitors. Welcome to our Laredo College Budget Workshop today, Saturday, June 3rd, 2023, and it's approximately 9:17. I call the meeting to order. I'm going to do roll call. Lupita Cepeda, President. Jorge J.D. Delgado, absent. Jackie Levin Ramos, absent. Erika Benavides Garcia, absent. Cindy Liendo.
Present.
Mercurio Martinez, absent. Esteban Rangel, absent. Karina Elizondo, absent. And Tita Cantú Vela.
Present.
Present.
Ms. Vela?
Here. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm here.
Okay. So we're going to go ahead and start the workshop. Public testimony? There's none. Thank you. Fourth item is Texas Association of School Boards, TASB, pay maintenance recommendations, Mr. Cesar Vela and Ms. Veronica Cardenas. Good morning.
Veronica Cardenas, Senior HR Director of Human Resources, and for this item, we have been working with TASB, and to present the pay maintenance recommendation, we have Ms. Luz Cadena. She is a Senior HR and Compensation Consultant from TASB, who, again, has been working with us, and so I'll let her introduce this agenda item.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Veronica. Good morning, board
Good morning.
members, and Dr. Ramirez. Thank you for the opportunity. I apologize. Thank you for the opportunity to kind of present this overview of the pay maintenance. We have been working with the college for several years, starting with that full pay review, and then we transitioned into a maintenance where we go in and we review market and make some adjustments where they are needed and model some pay increases. And so that's the pay maintenance process. I'm gonna just briefly talk a little bit about what the objectives are when we do this pay maintenance and keeping the pay system updated. And this is really so that your pay ranges and pay continues to be competitive so that you're able to recruit employees, have some of those competitive starting rates of pay, and be able to place individuals into the system appropriately. We also want to make sure that as those ranges are adjusted, those pay structures that you have, that we're placing jobs into those pay grades within the different pay structure groups based on the job value. That means given the responsibilities of the job, so that you're not overpaying or underpaying for what's being asked of that job. We also look at what your peers are providing as far as pay increases, modeling pay increases to help employee pay move through the ranges so that they don't remain clustered at the bottom of the range. And then, be able to continue to provide those increases so that your pay is competitive with your peers. And as well as, all of us, there is not this, infinite number the cost, the budgets that we have. It's, we've got some limitations, and so it's controlling costs to work within the resources that are available to you as far as financial and budget resources. There are some pay system controls built into the pay system. And clearly, the beginning one is the starting rates of pay. So we want to make sure that pay is competitive. And so we have those range minimums, and no employee should be paid less than that range minimum. Then we have the midpoint. And the midpoint really serves as the target rate of pay for experienced individuals. But it also serves as the anchor point using the market data that we get from those comparisons to realign your structure so that your structures remain competitive. And then the maximum value. The maximum value within the pay range and within your structures is an amount that's set because every job has a maximum value to it as far as pay. So we do have set control points, the minimum, the midpoints, and then the maximum values. And in this market-based pay system that we've set up for the college, ideally pay is centered around this target rate of pay, which is the midpoint, and controlling the minimums and the maximums to keep pay centered around this market value system. I'm going to move on to the market peers. We have the 11 market peers that we have been including in the pay reviews since we've started working with the college. We have a combination of colleges and local area school districts that we utilize the market for comparison. Note that for faculty, we only compare data from other colleges when we do the pay comparison for your faculty. When we transition to the pay comparisons for your exempt administrative professional type positions and for your non-exempts, these are your classified. We include the local area school districts because you're competing not only, with other educational entities as well, but we're also going to include, which is, a nice segue into this next slide, non-school market that we obtain from third-party salary surveys that we purchase. And so these are other organizations in the community, other employers in the community that we look at to see, what do they pay for maintenance? What do they pay for some technology jobs, for accounting jobs? So these are jobs that we know are commonly found outside of just the education sector. So we utilize those third-party salary surveys and combine them with the community college survey data that we utilize. This slide shows where you actually compare as far as your master's degree schedule for your faculty. We survey at 5-year benchmarks. Not every college extends their hiring placement for faculty up to 20 years, but we survey for all of those because there are some, and so we're able to get some comparisons. And based on the comparisons here, you can see that The market median is this blue line. This is the median of those peer colleges that we started out with and how they pay at each of these 5-year benchmarks as far as the masters. We use the masters as the main comparison because it is the most common and it is where most of the faculty are hired into. And so we use this and then we build from that for the other categories. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. So this is the comparison for year masters faculty compared to the median. And so you can see that you're lagging a little bit at the 5 and 10-year mark. You get a little bit closer at that 15-year mark, and then you lag a little bit from that market median at that 20-year mark, and your starting salary is competitive with this set of peers. What this number looks like, we have here in this next table, and so you can see the actual salary amounts and the percentage and the dollar difference. As I noted or highlighted from that graph, the year 5 comparison is the least competitive in that line graph. 4-year faculty masters comparison, and it's at 97%. The dollar amount here is $1,427 below. Then you have some improvement at the 10-year at 98%. You move to 99% at that 15-year mark, and then at that 20-year mark you're at 98%. So you're anywhere from being 3% below the market median across these 5-year benchmarks to being 4% above at that starting salary. We're also going to look at the pay comparison for your other pay groups. So we divide the administrative professional category into 2 just for ease of market analysis. We identify it or categorize it as administrator. And you can see that there's 20 positions that we match. These are year college number of positions that we match to our survey, job titles. And the overall market comparison as far as pay goes is at 96%. So on an individual basis, the pay comparisons may vary on an individual basis, but the average overall is at 96%. So you're going to have some that are going to be more than 96% below market, and you're going to have a few that are going to be more than 96% of market. That will be above that. We also analyze where your current ranges compare, how competitive they are to those market values. So we also utilize that market data to analyze the competitiveness of your structure because we're aligning your midpoints to the market. And overall, for this group, the midpoints are still fairly competitive. As you can see that they're at 100% of market on average for this set of 20 jobs. There may be some other midpoints where we just may need to make some adjustments, but on average, they are pretty connected to market still. For the professional positions, so the administrative positions, these are your director level type jobs. When we move on to your professional positions, this may be your accountants, it's maybe your payroll individuals. And so for this group here overall, we can see that the market here is 96% of market, same as for the administrator. And the midpoints just are lagging by about 1% below market. So, that's where the maintenance comes in. We make some slight adjustments where they are needed. without, having to adjust all of the other structure points. And so there were 26 positions that we were able to match that were identified as professional. And again, some of the other positions within this category are going to be your technology jobs, they're going to be your police lieutenant, they're going to be, your benefits, academic advisors, your bursars, and so it is, a large number of those professional level type positions. Then we move to your classified, we subdivide this into two categories. And so we have clerical paraprofessional, and these are, those that will be providing that clerical administrative type support. And for this group overall, it's at 97% of market. The midpoints are at 99% of market, so still connected. We just have to make some small adjustments. Your minimums are at 97%, so not too far from market, but we want to make some improvements so that you don't get too far from the market median starting rates of pay. These are very critical, especially for your hourly employees. So we want to make sure that your starting rates are competitive within those that you compete with for this talent year. And then the next group is your classified that are subdivided by this category of maintenance and operations. This is the group that you can see is the lowest to market overall for wages. So this group, we've got custodian, we've got groundskeeper, we've got carpenter, HVAC tech, electrician. So your, maintenance positions. And you can see that pay overall is 10% below market. When we look at the midpoints are low within this category at 95%. There's some improvement within this as we improve those midpoints. So of course, we also have to improve the starting rates, which helps. But we also balance that with trying to keep costs reasonable as we make improvements. There were 14 positions in this group, just so that you kind of have context of the market position for this category. Your custodian is 18% below market. Your groundskeeper is 13% below. Your HVAC technician, and this is, it's especially the skill set maintenance level jobs as well, 11% below. Your electrician, 9% below. So this is a group that we need to continue to try to target and make some stronger improvements if possible. I apologize, I didn't hear the question.
Did someone have a question?
No.
No questions
Okay.
at this time.
Okay, sorry, I thought I heard somebody say something. All right. So going on with the recommendations, basically it's implementing the proposed pay structures that have been adjusted. So we have made some adjustments to the ranges. We've adjusted the faculty structure based on the general pay increase of the 3% that we're going to review here. We've also adjusted the starting rates of pay for your classified employees. So currently your lowest pay grade starting pay is $10.50. That has been increased to $11.50 an hour. And then, we've realigned where the midpoints needed to be reconnected to those market values. We have readjusted your pay ranges within the various different pay structures. And when I say pay structures, it is those pay groups, faculty, administrative professional, and your classified. There's the general pay increase that has been modeled is a 3%. This equates for faculty with a master's degree to a $2,100 increase. And so we adjust the schedule based on the increase. The proposed starting salary now for the master's faculty is $49,750, and this is based on a 9-month assignment. Then we also did just a slight adjustment, additional adjustment at that year 10 and year 20 on the master's faculty schedule, which will carry through across the other categories, just to make some improvement in those in those benchmark areas where we saw that pay was really a little bit less competitive. And making that adjustment helped improve that market position some. It's not a big adjustment, and so it's just trying to keep you at a percentage point from market within those years. We've also, for the other faculty degree levels, the increase that they receive is a weighted factor of the master's pay increase. So, for example, the 3% equates to this $2,100 increase for your master's, and so for your associates, that's going to be at 96% of what that amount is. So we've got this weighted factor that's associated with the increase that is being recommended for your master's degree faculty, as we are adjusting the schedules as well. This is the proposed master's degree schedule with a 3% general pay increase. Please note that this dotted green line, that is the proposed schedule with that 3% amount adjustment. But note that these are still the current market comparisons. This blue line, we don't know what the other peers are going to be providing as far as an increase. Historically, pay increases, have been about 2%, 2 to 2.5%. And so we know that the market moves, and if you're able to do a 3%, that'll continue to move you at least a little bit above what maybe your other peers may be providing. But this comparison is still to the current market values and market comparisons, since we don't know what they will end up providing as increases. So this is what the faculty pay plan would look like after we've adjusted the masters with that, or by that $2,100 increase. We set the starting pay, we adjust the schedule by that amount, and then we build the bachelor's and the associates and the doctorate, as well as this new category, which is a continuing education non-degreed, based on a percentage or weighted factor from the master's. So everything is built, setting the master's and setting that one competitive with market, and then utilizing weighted factors to build the other faculty degree levels. And as I mentioned, we did add a category, which is this continuing education. And this just illustrates to 15 years. It just, we can't, show all of the schedule to the 20 years here, 20 plus years. I've talked about the 3% that's been modeled for faculty, and so this would be the 3% that would be modeled for the administrative professional employees as well, and for your classified individuals. And the increase would be calculated for them based on the employee's pay grade midpoint. For your faculty, the increase that we calculate right now is based on the range midpoint for starting with that master's schedule. And then the weighted factor after we set that master's increase. There are some additional adjustments that we also recommend. We continue to review to see, are there jobs that may be a little bit more at risk because they're not as competitive to market? And then we ensure that pay is no less than 1% above than the adjusted range minimums for your employees, your continuing employees that would be non-faculty, so that if you do bring somebody in with 0 years of experience and you place them in at minimum, that a continuing individual that may move to year 1 is going to make at least 1% more, right, or percent above that minimum. Additionally, there are some strategic adjustments that we provide. And these are if you have individuals that continue to be paid more than 90% below market and proposed midpoint, then we recommend that they receive at least an additional 1% midpoint adjustment. And that's just to move them through the range a little bit more. It doesn't mean to take their pay to 90%. It's just a targeted adjustment, so that we don't have, these large numbers or groupings of employees at the bottom of the range and never moving through the range or getting closer to that market rate. You do have, a few jobs that are really low to market. I do recommend that, you consider an adjustment. You have, a high-level administrator position that has continued to be paid below market, considerably below market, and that needs to be, taken into consideration and an adjustment made. We also provide placement scale adjustments for your classified, and these are really just spreading the pay of individuals through the range from the minimum to the midpoint. Over this 20-year, we slice up the differences, we create little differences so that we can address internal equity and avoid pay compression as we're raising the floor of pay or raising that starting rate of pay, so that someone with 3 years is going to make more than someone with 1 year, and therefore. So there are those additional adjustments that we provide for your classified employees based on their experience. There was a request to consider upgrading the faculty secretaries up 1 pay grade. And so if that is considered, there are a few other positions that are related, comparable to faculty secretaries that are in pay grade 204. And I would recommend that you move the group as a whole. If you're going to move faculty secretaries, and move the other secretary level jobs that are supporting a department, an area, to 205. And so the anticipated cost is about $51,376, and this cost basically reflects if the 3% is not enough to move them into the new range minimum. There is that adjustment of 1% above, and then they get the adjustment 3% based on the new midpoint of a pay grade 205, and then any adjustment that may be associated with the placement scale, looking at their years. And determining whether they're going to need an additional adjustment or not. The 3% pay increase model we have here, as you can see, we've got the general pay increase for the 3 different categories. The faculty, this is all the levels. Your administrative professional, your classified. We're looking at a little over $1 million increased cost to your current payroll cost that you have right now. And the current payroll cost that we have identified based on the snapshot in time of when we received the data, and this is really going to be primarily just base pay salaries. So right now, current payroll costs are $31.3 million. Doesn't account for benefits, it doesn't account for overtime. It's just, and it's for headcount, so it doesn't really account for positions that may be vacant and not filled and that kind of stuff. But this general pay increase is 3%, is a little over $1 million. That's a 3.3% increase. And then we have these adjustments. And so the adjustments are those small adjustments on the faculty schedule that I mentioned. The strategic adjustments for those paid below 90% of the new midpoint, that additional 1%. For the administrative professional, we have listed here. And then the largest component of this would be for your classified employees. And these are the placement scale adjustments and the adjustments to ensure that they're paid at least 1% above the new range minimums that we have proposed. This is a almost a $329,000 increased cost. It's rounded. It reflects a 1% budget cost. And so when we take a look at the total cost here, we're looking at $1.3 plus million. This equates to a 4.3% increase to your current payroll budget. And that is the end of my presentation. And if you have questions, I'd be more than happy to provide you additional information.
Thank you, Ms. Cadena. The chair would like to recognize Mrs. Jackie Levin Ramos has joined us, and Karina Elizondo has joined us as well. Any questions for Ms. Cadena? Chair recognizes Mrs. Vela.
Okay,
We're
no questions?
We're comparing this faculty schedule, or this schedule, to how many other colleges?
Ms. Cadena, how many colleges are we comparing
I saw
our
the
schedule
list.
to
I
the
saw the
other
list, but-
colleges?
Okay.
And they are.
So I am going to go ahead and move up to the list of those peer colleges that we started out with. So we have
Let's see, 1, 2, 3,
Alamo
4,
College didn't
5.
participate, but
So
we have
9.
Austin Community College, Glenn, Del Mar,
Mhm.
El Paso,
For 8.
Midland College, North Central Texas, South Texas, and Texas Southmost
So 9.
College.
Okay, I just, when you look at these figures, you think, oh my God, that's not very much. But I think one thing that we also need to keep in mind is that's a base. That's a base salary, right? It is a base, and it just, I don't know.
Yeah, so
I don't
this
think
is
I
just,
made that yet.
these are just base,
You know,
base
I mean,
pay
it's just-
increases. And so there are, other components, right?
Yes.
That you end up,
adding on to it,
budgeting
which would be
purposes.
teaching overloads and summers, et cetera. I look at the figure and I'm just in awe. But again, we do have quite a bit of benefits that our employees get, number one. And the majority of our faculty do teach overloads. And how many overloads are they allowed to teach now? I know when I was here, we could teach maybe 2 courses, and then anything over is just.
Chair recognizes Dr. Marisela Rodriguez Tijerina.
Marisela Rodriguez Tijerina, Provost Vice President of Academic Affairs. So in our faculty handbook, we have a cap of 21 hours. Faculty contractual obligation is 15. So 2 additional courses, more or less, assuming it's lecture, not including lab, is what we max. Now, there may be times where, sadly, people go on FMLA, we don't get enough adjuncts, especially during peak time, where we do need our own faculty to teach a little bit more, but we try to always cap it at 21. Yeah, which would be 6 overloads to answer your question. Yes.
Any other questions?
It's very little, but we need to go a step further and think of the fact that, you know, that they're on a 9-month contract.
Correct.
Ms. Vela, you need to speak into your mic because.
I'm sorry.
We can't hear you.
Randall and our guest can't hear.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Majority?
We need to think of the fact that that's only 9 months. Actually, it's 32 weeks, 16 and 16, right? And then summers are off. And if they want to teach, if they want more, they get summer school. You know, I mean, that's extra pay along with extra, you know, overloads, along with sometimes they get release hours. So, you know, when you figure all of those things, because I was looking at it and I was thinking, oh my God. But then, you know, you've got to remember all these other things that have to come into play also, so.
Correct, and we have to remember wintermester, Maymester,
Yeah,
and
see,
summer.
all of that is,
Those are all part of their,
yeah,
not
over,
part of their contractual
not part of
obligations, because they're not
yeah,
part
all
of
of
the
that's
following
extra.
spring. Now, the majority are on 9-month, our chairs
Yeah, all
are
that's
on a 10.5, and then we have some health science, like the vocational nursing, that are on a 12-month contract because their program is a whole year long.
yeah.
Madam Chair.
The chair recognizes.
And in addition, we also do Social Security, which
Oh, yeah.
most
Well,
institutions do not.
Well, besides that, we have quite a bit of other benefits. And, you know, there's quite a bit of vacations you get too, so.
The chair recognizes Mrs. Ramos.
So I want to get to what you just started, right?
Uh-huh.
So my question is, let's look at the whole picture, right? If we look at the different colleges that we're being compared to, let's go back and see, number one, what size of college that is. And we look at Alamo colleges, that goes into the very large arena, right? Austin Community College, very large. Blinn, large. They're in the same arena as we are. So that's something to compare with, right? Del Mar College is large. El Paso is very large. Midland is medium. North Central is large. South Texas is very large. And Texas Southmost College is medium. And we compare ourselves to the local school districts many times. It's getting to the point where we're constantly comparing ourselves, not only in pay, but also in other things. But we do, like Ms. Vela says, we have the same days off, we have different benefits, way more benefits here than we do in the school district. The other thing that we have not factored into this, and for the record, I am not against a pay raise, for the record, okay? But I am wanting to find out the little details. What makes it work, what makes it not work, what's the functionality of it? And we really do need to look at the tax base and what other colleges, we've talked about this for many years. What are the other tax bases generating? Because South Texas College is generating a lot of tax base. Alamo, Austin, all of those are generating a lot of, and we need to sit down and look at those, that information, and then also look at the differences in the number of employees that they have, because that makes a big difference. What are the number of employees that Alamo Colleges has? With all the tax base that they have enough money to be able to pay everybody. Well, we're just trying to make sure that the functionality of this proposal is something that is going to be well thought of. And we need to look at all the, I mean, I'm not I'm not against the pay raises and the increases. We're all at that same point, but we also need to be able to look at all the different parts to this structure. Thank you.
So, Ms. Cadena, on your comparison, do you look at what Mrs. Ramos just stated, the tax bases for the other colleges that you're including? on the comparison? Or it's just the total
No,
of
this is.
how many
this is-
student enrollment and?
So basically, the comparison group has pretty much been identified, as the group that has, some similarities or comparabilities similar to the college. When we identified the peer group initially, the higher coordinating board has categories, so they identify or define the community colleges by different categories of groups, whether they're large, extra large, small, medium size. And so we looked and utilized that category, that alignment initially. So for the most part, the colleges that are included in this comparison are those. I will tell you that Alamo College didn't participate, and that's why we have an asterisk on them. So their data is not reflected on any of this. We listed them, and they just haven't. As to the tax base, and we get it, right? I mean, you've got to work within the resources that you have, but when you're recruiting faculty, when you're recruiting staff, they're not concerned about the tax base, right? You're having to recruit still competitively for this talent, regardless, in a sense, of where you are, because you're going to have to fill positions. And so the tax base is a concern financial-wise, but for salaries and to be competitive, it is, it is very challenging because your applicants are looking at, what's the salary that I'm going to get for this type of job. So that's, just it's something to kind of keep in mind.
Any other questions? Chair recognizes Ms. Elizondo.
The proposed salary increases.
So in full disclosure, if I may, we received this day before yesterday, so we have not sat down as a team to review all the data. After this presentation, we'll start to sit down and look at the data, and then, because at this point, we still are, working on how is this going to compare to the budget? We don't know yet. So one of the first proposals that we're working on, you're going to hear from Mr. Vela shortly. So this is just the work that TASB did and the recommendations they made to us about things for us to consider as we go through the budget process.
I would like to also hear, probably not since you all received the information yesterday, but I would like to know what is the recommendation from administration, because this is based on her study, but it's also important to know from you all, since you all work with faculty and staff on a day-to-day basis. And I mean, just by looking at the salaries, they earn a lot less than what they probably owe in student loans. Higher education degrees are very expensive. And I know not everybody has a higher education or a master's degree or a doctorate, but yeah, I'd like to hear from administration.
Well, one of the things we want to certainly encourage is that at least within the faculty, we're encouraging all faculty to have a minimum of a master's degree. That's our hope, right? At least on the academic side, it would be for sure a minimum of a master's degree, and on the workforce side, a minimum of a bachelor's degree where possible and necessary. So, and for accreditation purposes, we need to keep that in mind. To be competitive in the recruitment of qualified faculty, I think we also need to be responsible in how we recruit and what the kind of faculty we want to recruit to the college to up our game, especially now that we offer bachelor's degrees. And so that's one thing. The other thing is on the staff side. And so on the staff side, we don't necessarily compete with Austin community colleges on the staff side. But we do compete with the school districts and the county and the city. And so we internally have done some of those studies as well. Ms. Cardenas and her team have put together, in addition to this, some work that they've done to try to show you where we are competitively with some of those positions. We are acutely aware that there are some areas that need to be revamped. We know that. We're hoping that if there is any little surplus this year, that we can start to work on equalizing that, especially for some of our lowest paid employees. And so how do we do that? How do we do it fairly? How do we do it justly? And then can we maintain it long-term, right? The sustainability of all of that is critical, taking into account all of the benefits and resources that we give. So sometimes we lose people to the city or to the county or to one of the other school districts because they think that getting a $1,500 raise is huge, only to find out that when they get their paycheck, it was a $20 difference and that one of their benefits is no longer available. And so, we're trying to make sure that all things being equal, that we're still competitive and that we share that with our employees as well, because sometimes we don't know what we don't know, and we don't know that, by merely adding $1,000 or $2,000 to your pay does not necessarily equal more benefits and more money. It doesn't. We all know that. And we also understand that with taxes, right? So how do we balance all of that? And how can we justify that to our taxpayers? How do we justify that to our employees? How do we justify it to our students? Our students expect quality, and they deserve that. And so how do we offer that at a competitive level? And so I agree. Thank you for your comments, Ms. Elizondo. And yes, we will, this is the first workshop of a series of proposed, but it was important that we get the TASB report because it's independent. It's outside of what we might think about a certain department, what we see every day. And so this helps us really align our thoughts and be able to continue to develop a plan for you and for our taxpayers.
No, I appreciate it, but it does make a difference. I have lost employees for $2.
Yes.
And not $1. So everything counts, and we need to be able to include those individuals that will be affected, whether it's positively or negatively, but to certainly have their input.
There is one additional factor that we're going to eventually need to consider is under the new financing structure, assuming that all goes through with House Bill 8, we should know sometime around mid to late July what if there's an increase, what it will be to our state funding, and when it's going to be. Is it going to be at the beginning of the fiscal year? Is it going to be at the end of the fiscal year when we see that? Is it going to be, we know it's going to be based on outcomes. We know it's going to be, we're going to be rated on success points. We know all of that, right? And we're gearing up for that. But if we're going to see an increase, we don't know when we're going to see it. And so that may help us. But that may bring about some additional decisions that we're going to have to make about tax rates, about, even benefits. Because some of those folks that are at the lowest paid, the state doesn't pay retirement, I mean, we're having to supplement some of the cost that the state doesn't pick up, right? And so, insurance, for example, for them. So how do we factor all those things in? And so we're monitoring closely all of that. And through all of our individual organizations, because everybody's getting information, and so we're all trying to keep track of that. And I'm trying to keep you all informed as to the latest and what's going on, and so I send it to you when I get it. But every one of those things is being taken into account in how we show you where we are. And so today, very preliminary, what we've been able to come up with, and technically, we're going based on, right now, on last year's numbers and how are we going to do with what we have now, current situations. Yes.
I was going to ask, and then you recognize Arturo Rodriguez Tijerina.
Marisela Rodriguez Tijerina, for the record. Thank you, Ms. Elizondo, for asking that question. In working with the ad hoc committee of the Faculty Senate, one of their wishes when we began TASB is that for every level of educational attainment, they remain within the top 5 ranking. So if you notice in each of those orange little lines, that's the first thing I looked at. We did meet their goal. Now, I can't speak on behalf of what they feel this year, right? But that was always the goal, to at least put them within the top 5. Ms. Vela, you might remember when we started, and Ms. Ramos. And so I think we met that goal of one of their wishes. But certainly we will review with faculty. And we also have to remember some faculty with differential or high demand industry like nursing. They also get additional stipends to compete with the industry.
Chair recognizes Mrs. Vela. Thank you.
I think, to me, one of the scariest things, one of the scariest things in my eyes is that we really never know how much money we're going to get from the state. Because, yes, we may get an increase, but we don't know what next year will be. They'll take, it could be cut. Just like we get increases, we get decreases also. So it's scary because we really can't count on that. We really can't. And it's happened many, many years, in the past, to where we're scrounging, looking for a penny to make it work. So it's back to this whole thing. It looks worse than it is because people don't understand all the extras that you can get as a faculty. Staff is most definitely different. That is different. But as a faculty, it looks like, wow, look at all their, but that's the very, very, very basic, and nobody does that unless they don't want to. Unless that's all they want to do.
We're being debating.
So,
We're being debating on this one.
yeah, we have.
Any other questions? Okay. Ms. Cadena, do you have anything else for us?
No, that's it. Just we're here to help you guys kind of through this budget process. There's additional models that we need to run. We certainly can. If the state comes through differently through the special sessions, then, if anything changes, we'll be able to assist you so that there's compliance with anything that comes from the legislature.
Thank you very much for the report. We appreciate it.
All right. Thank you very much.
Anything else, Ms.
Bye-bye.
Cardenas? Goodbye.
Bye.
That's it? Okay. So I'm going to move down to the next item, it's number 5, review and summary of benefits comparison. Ms. Veronica Cardenas. Ms. Liendo, can you hear us better?
I can hear a little better, but it's not that clear from the board.
We can barely hear you now.
Mr. Iniguez, will you please raise the volume on the presentation?
Veronica Cardenas, Senior Director of Human Resources, for the record. And so what we wanted to do today is, we did an extension to the TASB survey, where we also conducted a salary survey of the campus police position. But obviously, this department is an essential part of keeping our campus safe. And in your packet, you will see the results of the study, including those who participated. So this survey was conducted April and May of 2023. The positions we looked at were the chief of police, the lieutenant, the sergeant, the patrol officers as well. And the responses that we received, we had 14 of our Texas community colleges that participated, and also 3 local educational organizations. So the 3 local educational organizations were LISD, UISD, and TAMIU. And these are currently our ranges that we have for our campus police. The police chief and the lieutenants are exempt. That means they are salaried employees, and the sergeant and patrol officers, they are non-exempt employees, which are hourly. So let's start with the non-exempt positions. These are our hourly employees, the patrol officers. Here, what we did is we did a sort with the minimum or the entry level for all of us, LISD, TAMIU, and UISD. And here, Laredo College is paying the most for the entry level. If we were to do the sorting for the maximum, then TAMIU would be the highest in salaries. As far as the sergeants, again, same entities. Laredo College is the highest in the entry levels, and if we were to do the sort for the highest in salaries maximum pay is the TAMIU, so that's the ranges that we have. As far as the lieutenant and the police chief, these are our salaried employees, and again, we sorted the minimum pay or the entry level, and Laredo College pays most. They're almost all the same, but at this point, $56,000 is the highest for the lieutenant, and then maximum, as you can see, LISD, UISD, and Laredo College, the highest is for the highest maximum range. TAMIU would be the highest in this case. For the police chief, we again have LISD through UISD, and in this case, UISD pays the highest for the minimum entry for the police chief. Laredo College turns out to be second in this case. If it were to have the maximum, then again, UISD also pays the maximum for that. So that was the local entities. Now we move on to the Texas Community College participants. We had 14 of those, everyone from Alamo Colleges, Blaine College, College of the Mainland, and all the way to Weatherford College. The 2 comparable ones would be North Central Texas and also Blaine College that we have here. Out of those 14, 3 of them made us aware that they do not have campus police. It's Howard College, Galveston, and Lee College. What they do is they contract out, they have security officers. Galveston College actually contracts with the sheriff's office, and they have them help in that area of safety. And again, this is just for reference, which we just went over. These are our current salary ranges for our campus police. So for the patrol officers, again, these are our hourly employees. As you can see, Laredo College is at 42% out of the 14. So the minimum, we're right almost in the middle of the group that participated. As far as the sergeants are concerned, we're at 40% of the list of the participants. So again, we are quite in the middle of that. And the range between Laredo College and even Alamo College is, the difference is very, very small for the minimum pay or entry level. And also even the maximum. So the salary ranges are pretty much almost the same. As far as the lieutenants are concerned, we are at 38%. So again, the minimum is 56,000 that we currently have. We're not that far off again from the Alamo colleges, and also we're right there with College of the Mainland as well. Our maximum, though, is a little bit lower than this group. The police chief position, we're at 33% of the participants. Again, with the minimum entry of 72,000, we're not far off from the College of the Mainland and Blaine College. And then as far as the maximum, we're at 101,000. That maximum is a little bit smaller than the rest of the group, as you can see. So any questions that you have in your packets, again, you have the summary of the participants that we have, so we wanted to include it. Yes, ma'am. Oh.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'm going to go back to what I just spoke about in the other one. So let's look at College of the Mainland. They're at a medium college. Collin College is very large. Collin College is a very large college. Alamo is very large. Houston Community College is very large. Dallas College is very large. San Jacinto is very large. These are I'm getting them from TACC, so just so that you know, right? Because I happen to have the list on the phone. Blaine is in the large college. We are in the large colleges. El Paso, very large. Lone Star, very large. North Central, large. Weatherford, medium. Howard College is in the small. Galveston is in the small. And Lee is in the median. And Lee is in Houston. So looking at those, my question, well, I just wanted to make sure that everybody wrote those things down, just, for future reference or whatever. But we need to ask the question is number of officers that each college has, and campuses, of course, and the requirements that they're asked of. When we look at the lieutenant and the requirements, what are the requirements to be a lieutenant since they are exempt? What do they need to have? And so that's my first question is, when we look at the lieutenant slot, what do they need? Because they're exempt. So the police chief needs a bachelor's, master's. What is it that we're looking for when we find someone that has those requirements or those what do you call it, degrees or education?
Mm-hmm. So as far as TECOL is concerned, and I did check with the South Texas representative, they don't require level for TECOL purposes, but obviously we are a higher education institution, and so I did not check exactly what the others are require, but definitely at least a bachelor's in this case would be something reasonable to
Lieutenant and police chief?
Lieutenant and police chief, yes.
And then how many officers are we talking about when we talk about, like UISD, you look at the numbers and you're like, wow, but they have a lot of officers, they have a lot of schools, they have a lot of campuses, right? So what is the ratio of what they have to oversee? And so that also can factor into the decision of whether we're at the right place or we need to go higher, certainly not lower because we're doing pretty well on a lot of the things, but and the minimum. And the maximum, we're faring pretty well in different slots, but not in all the slots. So those are just some of the things to consider.
Right. And again, this is the first study that gets done, and so certainly we can look into those items and, provide that for next time.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
I was just curious, how were these amounts obtained? Through open records, or how were they? I'm just curious.
Yes, no, actually, we went ahead and sent out the study to the colleagues that we have across Texas through the tax SHRP system that we have. And so as far as the Texas community colleges, they were kind enough to provide us this information. And it was, I told them it's a quick survey, so that way they could provide us the information. And so that's how, it was just on a volunteer basis. And that's a lot of the surveys that get obtained is through volunteering. We could take a little bit longer and do the PIAs or the public information, but these are the ones that actually responded.
Chair recognizes Dr. Ramirez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Keep in mind, trustees, that this wasn't a scope of work study. This was merely a, what is your minimum, midpoint, and maximum level? It was not, we didn't ask for job descriptions, we didn't ask for scope of work, we didn't ask for minimum requirements. It was merely a general study. On the local level, it was the same. We didn't ask for scope of work, we didn't ask for job descriptions, we didn't ask for any of that. We just said, what are you paying? Because at the end of the day, our employees are gonna either come or go because of the salary range, period, the end. So I think, and now, if you want us to do a scope of work study, we can, but it will take some time.
Another question that I would have would be, do they have the same benefits that we offer to our officers? And I don't know if that can be shared with us or not, because that's another thing to consider. We might be giving better benefits to our employees or to our police officers in other areas. Just a thought.
And so we did conduct a benefit comparison for employees, so we'll go into that. I do want to add that every year, TAMIU actually reaches out to us and asks us for how much we pay our campus police. Every year, they do ask us for that. So I guess they kind of use the same as a basis for us.
Sure.
Okay. So no more questions on the police?
I think we're okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we also wanted to provide you with the information that is important to the employee compensation and benefit package as a whole. So this year, we have conducted a benefits comparison survey, and again, in your packet, you'll see the results as well as the different participants. So again, this was also conducted through April and May of this year, and the benefits that we surveyed were everything from health insurance, the Social Security match, retirement, holidays observed, vacation, sick leave, as well as the sick leave pool, tuition waiver, the employee assistance program, wellness, and some of them added the bereavement leave, so we went ahead and added that as well. The responses that we received were 10 of the Texas community colleges and the 3 local educational organizations here. So again, the 3 are the LISD, UISD, and TAMIU organizations or institutions. So as far as the current or the local comparison that we have for the medical, TAMIU, LISD, and UISD. So as you know, we have the state health benefits through the employee retirement system, and that is a point of service plan. TAMIU does not participate in the ERS, neither does LISD or UISD. They are all 3 self-insured. LISD and UISD did indicate that they have 3 different plans that they offer their employees, and what we did with this survey is we got their most popular plans that their employees obtain or you currently use. So as far as pay, Laredo College does pay 25% of the employees' premium because the state provides the other 50%. for that, and that is only for the dependents, because the state also pays 100% if you were to choose employee only. That's for us. As far as the university is concerned, they pay 0%, and we'll go through each one of them, but this is currently the cost that they have. LISD pays $525 flat rate. That is what they assist the employees with their premiums, and UISD does $475, and that's a flat rate, no matter what the premium is.
Yeah.
So as far as, again, the employee only, the state for Laredo College pays 100%, and the employee pays $0, so there's no cost for Laredo College employees. And as far as TAMIU, the state does pay 96%, and the employee pays 4% of that premium, so it amounts to about $30. For LISD, for employee only, the employee pays 22% of that premium, which comes out to $149, almost $150. And for UISD, the employee pays 15%, that's about $81. For employee and child, as you can see, $119 for Laredo College, $225 for TAMIU, and the employee pays 56% for LISD, that's $655, and UISD pays $296. So there's quite a difference here for the spouses. You can see Laredo College employees only pay $179, and the TAMIU $341, and LISD $782, UISD $488. For family coverage, the employee pays, for Laredo College employees, about $300. This is monthly premiums, by the way. TAMI employees pay $455, LISD $1,430, and UISD $690. And my notes here for Laredo College is, as was previously mentioned, the state does not pay for those that are in physical plant in those areas. Okay. Then we also looked at Social Security match, and I think this, let me see, because this one, let me make it small. There. So Social Security match, both Laredo College, TAMIU do participate in that Social Security matching, LISD and UISD do not. As far as retirement, Laredo College offers the TRS, the ORP, and we also have the tax sheltered annuities, which the college does not match. TAMIU also participates in the same. LISD and UISD only participate in the teacher retirement system. As far as holidays are observed, the holidays that we do pay for, they are again paid. UISD also pays. LISD, interestingly enough, says they don't pay. They do have them off, but they don't pay. They apparently get the annual salary, and instead of doing the 260 days that we pay during regular business days, they kind of use a different calculation, which I believe is like 230 days or something like that. So the holidays that are observed are the spring breaks, the Easter holidays, Thanksgiving, those are the most popular, winter break, Martin Luther King, and 4th of July. We have a total of 26, I don't know if you can see this, but it looks kind of, I don't know if you can move this. I'm going to move it up. There it is. Okay. So Laredo College has a total of 26 days as far as holidays. TAMIU has 13 days. They do also observe Memorial Day and Juneteenth. I just make sure we added those. And then as far as LISD, they do have 23 days, but it does vary per year. As you can see, they do have a full week for spring break, and the 2 weeks, and pretty much what we do except for Martin Luther King Day. But again, it varies. Ours are set as far as that's concerned. Yes, ma'am.
The chair recognizes Mrs. Vela and then Mrs. Ramos.
Mike.
Oh, sorry. They still get 2 weeks off, don't they? No. Vacation, they don't?
Vacation.
No, here. Like if I worked here, I could have 2 weeks vacation.
We actually have
Besides
12
those?
days. Well, besides the holidays,
Yes.
everybody gets 80 hours of vacation, and we're going to touch that in a minute.
Okay. All right, no, but this is in addition to this.
In addition.
Yes.
I just had a question. On that 4th of July, it's the week, but I think they take off their days. So they have 12 days or non-comp days or something.
Non-contract days.
Non-contract days. So the district shuts down for a week, and they have to take their days. Because these are mostly the 12-month individuals. So the other individuals, some of us work 9 months, some of us work 10 months, some of us work 11 months. And then there's people that work 12 months, and then it starts like in July and so forth. So right after they come back, the new year starts. So that week is not like, the 4th of July week is not like a paid week or something like that.
They're
It's just
non-contract days.
non-contract days.
And both LIC and USD take that whole week off.
Yes.
They close.
They close.
So again, UISD does have a total of 30 days, and also they vary per year.
And the 30 days are for the 12-month contract people,
Correct.
by the way.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. So now as far as vacation is concerned, we offer 80 hours, and TAMIU does offer, it's a range. Those that have less than 2 years, they obtain 80 hours, and they can obtain up to 252 hours for those that are 35 years plus with the service there. LISD does offer 40 hours, and UISD offers 80 hours. The maximum that Laredo College allows to carry over is 160 hours. TAMIU, again, has their range as well. LISD indicated to us that, as well as UISD, that there is an unlimited carryover. And as far as paying upon separation, those vacation leave days, we pay them. TAMIU also pays them. LISD says they do not pay them, and UISD says that they do. So how much is it that they pay? Laredo College pays a maximum of 160 hours. TAMIU indicates earned, anything that was earned and unused, they pay that out. And here LISD gave us a note that vacation leave payout for professionals employees is 40 days at different percentages. That's the information that they provided to us. And then UISD, again, any earned or unused vacation time. So that is the vacation hours in addition to the holidays and also in addition to sick leave. So that's the next item that we looked at.
So recognizes Mrs. Ramos.
On the UASD side, it's also percentages. It's 40 days, 30 days, 10 days, state leave, local leave. So they look at local leave, they look at state leave, how much do you have, and then some of it you lose it. But yes, it's earned and unused, but there's like a calculation that happens there.
Thank you.
And it's all for full-time. And some of the teachers and the faculty, they do follow this rule, but on the 80 hours annual accrual, we have 11 days or depending on our contract. So either, the full-time people are the ones that earn the 80 hours. And it's usually by days or non-contract days. So this year, they gave us 5 extra days, and they're not going to give them to us next year because they gave them to us for COVID this year. So it fluctuates, but there's a difference between the full-time and there's a difference between the faculty who work and then we get paid for the whole entire year. It's kind of, people do that, like Dr. Ramirez was saying. It's like they look at the numbers and they're like, oh, I'm going to get paid more. And then when they divide by 12, it's like, what happened with the money? Where are you taking the money, right? So there's a comparison between the pay benefits across the board. There's different levels with us, at least. That's what I know. So,
Yes, thank you. Okay, as far as the sick leave is concerned, Laredo College does have 12-month employees that accrue 96 hours every year. For our 10.5-month employees, 84, 9-month employees, 72 hours. As far as TAMIU is concerned, they have the same hours accruals as we do. LISD for their, of course, 12-month employees are 40 hours and per school year, and UISD is 80 hours. They do not have 10.5-month employees, but they do have the 9-month employees, and again, it's the 40 hours per school year and 80. They do have, we have an unlimited carryover as far as sick leave. So does TAMU and LISD and USD as well. We asked if they paid upon retirement, because that's what we do as well. TAMU stated no, LISD and USD stated yes. The maximum payout for sick leave for Laredo College depends on the number of years that they have, so it's a maximum of 720 hours. So TAMU had indicated no, that they do not, so that's not a section that they participate in, but any leftover sick leave pool does go to the sick leave pool. As far as LISD, the max payout for sick leave is 640 hours or 80 days, and they do have a breakdown, as you can see there. And then UISD also does the 640 hours. As far as sick leave pool, the college does provide 480 hours lifetime maximum, but they do have to participate. It's not an automatic, so you have to participate in the pool. TAMU's maximum is 720, LISD is 240, and UISD is 240 hours per school year. And again, they have to be members. It's not an automatic. As far as tuition waiver, the college does offer two courses per session. TAMU indicates that they apply for first-time masters and only applies to first-time masters and PhD employees. And as you can see, it's 100% for the employee. The dependent is 0. LIZ and USD, they do not have a tuition waiver. As far as employee assistance program, TAMU does also have a program. LISD and UISD have indicated that they do not. However, as far as wellness program, just like Laredo College, TAMU, LISD, and UISD do offer a wellness program. As far as bereavement leave, Laredo College does offer 3 days per event, and TAMU offers 5 days, LISD offers 3 days, and UISD offers 3 days. TAMU and LISD made sure that we noted that it is a very strict process. They would need documentation in order to get the bereavement leave days.
Chair recognizes Mrs. Ramos.
On the bereavement, we follow the same. There's a strict process. You just can't take days for whoever, and you have to turn in how you're related and everything. So it's like, you better be prepared. So like in the middle of your bereavement, you need to make sure you have all your documentation in order. On the sick leave pool, do you ask them to give up some days? Is that what it is, to donate days?
For Laredo College, yes. If you want to be a member of the pool for the first time, you do have to have 32 hours in your accrual for sick leave. Out of those 32 hours, you would participate 16 hours, or contribute rather, and that's the one time. Every year thereafter, for renewal, if you want to continue in the pool, it's 4 hours.
Oh, okay, so 4 hours afterwards.
And on an annual basis, yes. At the beginning of every fiscal year, we do deduct 4 hours automatically.
Do you ask the following year, do you want to continue being a member? Or the first time that you sign up, it's going to roll over automatically?
It's in our handbook that it is automatic, and we remind them every time we send out the enrollment period.
Okay.
And then they do get an email stating that they will be contributing to those 4 hours. And so the only way that they can stop that is if they withdraw.
Okay, and then when you do utilize the sick leave, is because you've exhausted your sick leave? And you go to the sick leave pool?
Actually, you've exhausted everything, vacation leave, sick leave, everything. And then you would go to the sick leave pool and request hours. You do have to file all the documentation with your physician so that we could review it. And when I say we, I mean the committee reviews that, and it does have to be catastrophic illness or injury.
Okay, so we have 2 types of sick leave pool. We have a sick leave pool bank, but every year you give 2 days. And you have to be a member of the bank. A maximum of 30 days is what you can get. And then you also have to exhaust everything. And then they also do the catastrophic. So that one is sent out to everybody, and you ask people 4 days. So if you're not a member of the sick leave bank, then I can submit my paperwork if I'm going to be out another 30 days with some sort of my family or myself. And then I depend on the generosity of employees to see if they're willing to give me a day or 2 days. I don't know who gives it to me. I just know that they deposit into my account, but I can only use it if it's for catastrophic. So that's the extra, benefit that's available there with us at UISD.
Thank you.
On the bereavement, is it immediate family or is it anyone?
No, it's immediate family.
Immediate family. Okay.
Mother, father, brother,
Children.
no, pero es que there's a like.
Grandparents,
a list, but there's
too.
also,
It's
like,
mother,
And
father,
in-laws.
in-laws,
In-laws.
a brother, sister, and children.
Not a cousin,
Not
not
a
a
cousin.
uncle,
Not an
aunt.
aunt.
Yeah.
Right.
Grandmother, yes?
Grandmother, yes.
And if
Grandfather.
you have a adopted child.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions?
So that was the local, and the Texas Community College participants, again, we had a total of 10, Galveston College, Houston, Lone Star, McLennan North Central, South Texas, Texas Southmost, and Wharton College who participated, and also Hill College. So as far as the medical is concerned, all 10 or 100% of the participants have our state benefits. And as far as dependents are concerned, the only difference here is that 5 of those participants, or 50% of them, instead of putting the employees to pay, the college pays 50% of the premium. So, and then of course the state pays the other 50%. The college, just a reminder, we pay 25%. As far as the Social Security match, 60% do have the Social Security match. The rest, or the 40%, do not have that. And actually, this week, we just came back from the Tax Sherp Conference, where we have the other HR professionals, which are the ones that participated. We were in one of the sessions where we had the Social Security office there and a representative there, and that was her first question: who here participates in Social Security? And out of maybe there was about 40 people in the group, and only about 6 raised their hand. So the rest do not participate. And again, this is a small group. It's 10 people that did participate. But in reality, if we look at all of them, there's not that much. There isn't really a big number of participants in Social Security match.
Chair recognizes Dr. Ramirez.
Ms. Cardenas, is there a reason why the majority of the institutions do not participate?
You know, I have not looked into that. I don't know if any of the other members here that have been, all I know is that when we got Social Security for employees many moons ago, I think it was in the 90s, I believe, at that time, there were only like 2 community colleges, and now they've increased and they've adopted it.
Is it because there was a time when you were TRS, you didn't qualify for Social Security benefits? And I think now there's been a change in the law that allows for, I think, a certain percentage of your Social Security along with your TRS benefits. But that may, I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but I'd be interested in finding out why. And what the benefit is to our employees to get both.
And actually, in the session, we learned yesterday that if you participate in TRS, but if you meet a total of what's called 30 years of credit, then Social Security applies. So you can take Social Security and TRS together. Yes, we learned that yesterday. I don't know if 100%, I guess it depends on every certain individual, but it was interesting that we learned that yesterday, and I was not aware of that. So.
One of the things that we've learned is that some of the colleges don't want to pay that additional for Social Security for employees. Is that correct, Mr. Vela? Because we do pay, don't we?
We do the match, yes.
So that's one of the reasons some do not do it, because, I mean, you got to include it in your budget as far as paying out Social Security for our employees.
Good morning.
Mr. Vela, good morning.
Good morning, Cesar Vela, VP of Finance and Administration. That is correct, Ms. Cepeda. So we do have to contribute the employer portion into the program, and that is one of the reasons why some of the community colleges didn't participate. Now, since we opted to participate, obviously, once you opt in, you cannot opt out. So
Right.
it's a situation where if we were.
Once you're in, you're in.
Yes, so it's a situation where if we were trying to, say, cut costs and say, well, we're moving away from the Social Security participation, we couldn't.
Okay. Chair recognizes Mrs. Ramos.
The other thing, like on the TRS, Dr. Ramirez and Ms. Cardenas, you have to meet your quarters, like the 30, if you're doing the 30 years, you have to meet your quarters prior to you having worked at the school district. So for some of us that have worked in two different jobs, then we probably will get credit. I'm looking into that still. I'm trying to find out, exactly where, what, how. But most of my colleagues say that since that's the only job they've ever had in TR and the participation in TRS, they're not going to get anything. So, and then I think if your spouse is getting it, then it depends on each individual person and what their trajectory was of employment. So
That's correct. And then just going back to Social Security, we were able to speak to the presenter and wanted to make some presentations so that they can come down and present to all of our employees as well, have several sessions throughout. So we're working on that.
that's good.
Thank you.
Okay, so as far as retirement, so all 100% of the participants have these three. All three, actually. As far as holidays are observed, as we talked about earlier, we have 26 days that are paid, that are observed by the college. In the group of 10 that did participate, they ranged from 24 up to 29 days. So we're right in the middle of what they do. And yes, they are paid. As far as vacation is concerned, the summary that we just discussed about the 80 hours, three of the participants were at 96 hours, two of them were at 80-hour accruals, and the rest ranged anywhere from 55 to 160 hours. As far as their carryover max, 160 hours for the college, two of them actually stated that they don't have any carryover. One indicated that they had unlimited carryover, and the rest ranged their carryover anywhere from 40 to 240 hours. And all of them stated that they do pay vacation leave upon separation, and 4 of them stated that any earned and unused were paid, and the rest ranged their payout anywhere from 160 to 400 hours. As far as the sick leave is concerned, the 80% of the participants that have 12-month employees, they accrue the 96 hours, just like here at Laredo College. 20% state that they have, or 2 really. One of them was at 104 hours accrue, and the other one was 144-hour accruals. For their 10.5-month employees, 70% were at 84 hours, just like us, and the other 2 were at 120 hours. One of them indicated that the 10.5-month employees they accrued 5 hours per course for the semester. And as far as their 9-month employees, 70% were at 72 hours, just like here at Laredo College. 2 of them, or 20% of them, were at 108 accruals, and the other one was 108 hours, the other one was 120 hours. One of them stated that they were at 68 hours for their 9-month employees. As far as their carryover, we have unlimited, and none of them have an unlimited carryover. They do have a range, though, 360 up to 720 hours. And then do they pay a sick leave upon retirement? 70% said no, 20% said yes. and one of them did not disclose that information. As far as their maximum payout, again, 7 of them, or 70% of them, did not have any. 2 of them had a range from 152 to 336, and one of them, or 10%, did not disclose. As far as their sick leave pool, again, just a reminder, we do 480 hours lifetime maximum. 80% of them do the same as us. 20% of them have no sick leave pool. I'm sorry, yeah, maximum range of hours is 240 to 720 hours, actually. As far as the tuition waiver, again, Laredo College pays 2 courses per semester for employees and dependents. The dependents don't have the 2-hour course limit, but we do offer dependent tuition. 80% of the participants offer to both employees and dependents. 20% of them offer only to employees. 80% of them do offer the employee assistance program, and 20% or 2 of them do not offer any assistance program. As far as the wellness program, only 2 or 20% of them do offer, the other 80% do not offer a wellness program. And those are all the benefits that we were able to provide. As far as the survey is concerned, I don't know if you have any other questions regarding this survey.
Any questions?
It's a lot, yes.
No, thank you, Ms. Cardenas.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Mrs. Ramos.
Dr. Ramirez, maybe we can consider, or maybe it's already been considered, to do an explanation to the employees once again, like, I don't know, share with them the many benefits, and sharing this presentation is always really important, because we get to see, like, I'm going to go back and I'm going to be like, oh my God, I don't get that much, you know. But, I mean, it just depends on the organization, right? I mean, yeah, we have to look at all the factors. But I think a well-informed staff knows what they're getting, and, you know, what's coming around the corner. And, you know, the Social Security is really important, because a lot of people depend on it at the very end when they retire. And so if you know in advance, those of us that plan well, you know, we go into the jobs that are going to be beneficial at the end of our career. And so, you know, it's always good to have them informed, maybe, you know, several sessions or something like that.
And they do, actually periodically throughout the year, all year long, they're doing benefit sessions, they're doing retirement sessions, they're doing insurance sessions. And so throughout the year, they've been providing information to our employees. Now, it is volunteer, right, for them to attend those sessions. We don't force them to attend the sessions, but you're right. An informed cadre of employees is the best, at which we do our best to keep them informed, and they do share all that information with everyone. Even during convocation, they have sessions available to employees, and so, but yes, we will keep doing that, and we will keep making all of that available. All of this is also on the HR website.
Yes.
So we try to do the best we can to give them all the information. Yes, ma'am.
Chair recognizes Mrs. Vela.
Your mic.
You know, I'm retired from here, so I've never had any problems. Your office is always, every time I call, I get my answers. You know, any questions I have or any problems, they immediately help me. So they're very, very, yeah. I mean, there's no problem. I even have cell numbers. No.
Yes, I was going to say that.
No, because I know them.
We actually, and yes, thank you so much for that. But yes, we do make ourselves available, and we do go above and beyond. We even answered phone calls and questions, anything they need, even Saturdays and Sundays. Our cell phones are made available to our employees, so they are able to reach out. And they even send out an email, because we're always looking at our emails, and whatever urgency they have, they know exactly who to call, and that if they send an email at midnight we will answer. So thank you for that.
And I agree with Mrs. Vela. Our HR department is always
Always.
there assisting anyone that needs help. Thank you, we appreciate it. Anything? Anything else? Cindy?
Ya se durmió.
I don't know if she can hear me, though. The next item is number 6. You ready? Presentation of preliminary draft of the fiscal year 2024 budget, Mr. Cesar Vela. Oh, you want to take a break? Mr. Vela, can you give us a 2-minute break?
Yes, of course.
Anybody wants to stretch, go get some water or anything? Yeah. Do it now. Two-minute break. So we'll be ready for Mr. Vela. What's happening with the mic?
The mics? Huh? They're working, right? Yeah, they're working.
What's happening with the mics? You look younger. Oh, okay. But Cindy can't hear me. She kept texting you. So I don't know. That's why I put it closer to my mouth.
yo sé, pero se me pasa. Ok.
¿Quién?
Sí.
No.
Me dice, si vas a decir no te oyen, es que no quiero que me oigan. I did not know the Catholics. Carlos is,
Girls. As a matter of fact, she's like, you can do up to 10 hours. Okay, Mr. Ayala, let me go ahead and restart to go ahead and do the preliminary draft of the fiscal year 2024 budget.
Good evening, I'm sorry, good morning.
Almost good evening.
It's been a long week. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Ramirez, colleagues, Cesar Vela, VP of Finance and Administration for the record. Before we begin with the presentation, I would just like to take a minute just to acknowledge and publicly thank the Budget Committee members that have been working with the Finance Office on reviewing all of the requests that were submitted for next year's budget. As you can see from the list, we do have members from all areas of the college, from faculty to staff and administrators working at looking at the budget requests. So again, it's just to thank them for taking time off their busy schedules to meet with us and do the review of the proposed items that have come in for next year's budget.
And just for the record, if I may, I know I'm on that list, but I've only attended one meeting because when I go, nobody says anything. So I figured it best me not be present during their meetings to give them an opportunity to discuss freely.
Okay.
And they are very interesting meetings. Obviously, you can see the passion from all the individuals that are participating. When their items come up for review, you can see where their passion is. So, very interesting meetings. So, some of the items that we'll be covering this morning as we work on the budget, obviously, we have 3 sources of revenue that come in. And so we, as part of the calculations, we look at enrollment data. And one question that always comes up during the budget process is the fund balance. So I'll provide some information on the fund balance. Also, we'll discuss what the budget objectives are for this coming year. What are some of the assumptions that were used to try to balance the budget? We'll look at the funding sources, and then again, review the initial budget requests that have come in. We'll talk about the projected revenue for next fiscal year. What are some of the recommendations that are coming from the Budget Committee? We'll take a look at the tax rate and valuation information that has been received. And finally, we'll look at the calendar timeline as we look at the remaining months of this process. So when we look at enrollment, so the bar that is in yellow or gold represents the non-dual enrollment. And the information that you see here is duplicated information and it's annual. So up through fiscal year 2022, that is certified data. What you see for 22-23, that is preliminary data. And the majority of the information is coming from the fall and spring semesters. It does include the May semester and the summer session 1 information. We're still working on, obviously, we still do have enrollment for summer session 2. So when you look at enrollment, back in 2016, 2017, our numbers were for the non-dual students, 18,324. This is, again, annual duplicated information. We're looking at this year 13,275. And again, this is not certified data, it's not a complete picture for the year. When we look at the dual students, in 2017, we had 4,639 students. At this point, this year, we're at 9,694. And that's important again because when we look at the dual programs, they're not paying full tuition and fees. So obviously, that's important for us to track when we're developing the budget so that we can come up with a tuition and fee revenue projection. So as far as head count, our major focus is when it comes to the finance area is the semester credit hour generation. And again, you'll see that in the gold or yellow bar, that represents the non-dual students. So for the current fiscal year, we're looking at right now, and again, this is not certified data, 115,630 semester credit hours. For dual students, we're looking at 45,700. That is the, for this current year, we had projected 125,000 semester credit hours. So, like I mentioned at the board meeting last Thursday, we're monitoring this number. We do have still pending to record, obviously, the summer one and summer two. So trying to make up that number again when we compare budget to actual. So when we look at the general operating fund balance, one of the strategies that we've used in the past couple of years is we've used savings to acquire much needed equipment for operations. So on the green bar, you'll see the fund balance on a cash basis. So at the end of last fiscal year, and this is as of August 31st, 2022, on a cash basis balance, we had 63,593,108 in the general operating fund balance. Now, GAAP basis, we had 5,044,204. Again, the difference here is the liabilities that we have with the state for the pension plan and the post-employment benefits. So we have a total liability of 45 million for the pension plan and 7 million for the pension plan and 45 million for the post-employment benefit plan. So if the state were to ask the college to pay on those liabilities, we would have enough cash. We have enough cash on hand to pay those liabilities. We would not have to go out and borrow monies for that. So you can see that back in, I can see the years here that we're comparing. I believe it's, 2018, 2019, we had a negative $13.9 million fund balance. So throughout the last couple of years, we've grown that fund balance back to a positive 5,044,204. Now, what's not included in this fund balance, obviously, are some commitments that have been made already by the board for this fiscal year, which is the $5 million transfer for construction and the 1.3 million that was done, 1.8 million for the deferred maintenance plan projects. Again, but when we look at the fund balance, one of the strategies that is typically used to balance the budget is using savings from the current year to purchase equipment.
I have a question on the fund balance.
Yes.
So if the state were to say, okay, Laredo College, you need to pay up the retirement, would you automatically just, or would the college automatically just pay everybody their lump sum? And we'd be done? That is if the state.
Yes, so I'm not sure how that scenario would unfold, but that would.
Curious.
Yes, so again, it would, not necessarily that each individual would get a lump sum, but in the case that we were to be asked by the state to pay on those liabilities, it's most likely that the state is in financial trouble and they can't keep up with the annual payments. So at that point, we would submit that contribution to the plan.
Oh, okay. And
Okay.
just pay it out.
Yes.
I think worst-case scenario would be lump sums, right?
Right.
And so I think that's what we want to be prepared for, because you don't really know what the political state is going to be, what the economic state is
Sure.
going to be, and so.
But that's good that we have that fund balance available
Yeah.
to us.
We prepare for the worst-case scenario.
Sure.
But that's, we can't use it, but
No, we cannot
it's
use it.
just for emergencies, one time.
Yes, that is
One
correct.
time.
So when we propose using the fund balances for
Yeah,
a
it
one-time.
can only be a one-time
use.
thing.
So we
So
wouldn't
that's when
be,
they say,
we wouldn't be recommending to use the fund balance for recurring expenses, like salaries. and-
I think what we've maybe used it one time, did we use it once to give employees we used it once to give employees, I don't want to call it a bonus, what do we call it, Rusty? Because we couldn't call it a bonus,
It was at one point, it was a stipend.
a stipend we gave, were you, remember that?
I remember.
It was during that time.
It was during-
Money's available.
Yeah, when there was a little bit of monies available and we couldn't give people a raise, we gave them a stipend right before Christmas, I think, right?
That
And
is
then
correct.
another one right before spring break, yeah.
And if I may, there's always the legal issue. of
Yeah.
that.
Yes.
It's better to give the stipend before the employee signs the contract and you build it into the contract.
Yes.
Otherwise, you get into a gift of public
Yes.
funds issue. We
Yes.
had to figure out
We
ways
had to
around
figure out
that.
how to do that.
And we've done it.
Yeah.
We built in.
But I mean, that was
Yeah,
just one time when we just couldn't give them.
yeah, there was
Right,
not money
yes.
available with the budget.
Okay. Thank you.
So some of the objectives that we're trying to address with next year's budget, again, the major one is obviously to maintain instructional and student service components of our mission as the highest priority. We want to make sure to align the operating budget to match our revenues that will be coming in. And this is, again, also to be able to provide funding for strategic investments. One item that the Budget Committee has fully agreed is to provide funding for classroom technology upgrades as we continue. With this facility master plan, we are now starting to find that some of that investment that we did a couple of years ago now has to be upgraded. So we're looking at maintaining a schedule to upgrade classroom technology, both here at the Fort McIntosh and at the South Campus. As was discussed earlier with the TASB salary review, it's to optimize the salaries and benefits to employ and retain qualified faculty and staff. Again, that is an issue that we face in some of our positions where we're having trouble retaining or hiring talent. And then again, increase funding for maintenance of facilities. That's also one thing that we're wanting to do and address with this upcoming budget, to provide additional funding, if possible, for the maintenance of facilities. So some of the assumptions, as we worked with the preliminary budget, is again implementing the recommendation from TASB, which is to provide a 3% general pay increase for all eligible employees. And that cost is 1 million. And also implement the pay scale adjustments that are being recommended. And this is to realign pay structures to market and to alleviate pay compression in some of the positions. And the cost for that is $329,000. And then, as I mentioned, increase our facilities maintenance budget by $500,000. And this is again to try to work on some of the deferred maintenance projects that we have currently here at the Fort McIntosh campus and at the South campus. As far as the revenues, no tax rate increase. Right now, the proposed maintenance and operation tax rate would be at 20.205417 per $100 valuation. That represents a reduction of almost 2.5 cents to the M&O tax rate. We're not proposing any tuition and fee increases. Again, the last tuition and fee increase was back in 2014 when we were implementing one of the phases of the facilities master plan. We do have an increase of 1.7 million in investment income. As I mentioned at the board meetings, we've seen the interest rates go up. We're currently yielding in some of our accounts up to 5%. So we have seen a significant increase this year in our investment income, so we're proposing to make a modification to next year's budget on that one line item. We're looking to increase semester credit hours by 3%, and that is based on actual semester credit hours this year, where our target would be, for funding purposes, would be at 3%. Obviously, the target would be to hit 5%. We have an increase of 21% in property valuations, and this is based on preliminary information from the Webb County Appraisal District. So that number is subject to change as we go through the process. And this one item set the tax collection rate at 99%. We are going to work on revisiting this number based on information that we've, the collection rate that we've had this current fiscal year. So we may adjust that number down by 1% based on collection rates this year. But right now, at this point, what you're going to see is at 99%, what's being proposed right now.
Any questions?
So when we talk about the funding sources, we have, as I mentioned, 3 major funding sources, which is tuition and fee revenue, state appropriation, and property tax revenue. You'll see that the gray bar represents the tax revenue, and you'll see that over 61% of our budget is coming from tax revenue. So for the 2022 fiscal year, taxes were at 37,324,104. This was last fiscal year. Obviously, this year we're at 42 million.
Wow.
And with the proposed property valuations and tax rate, we would probably be at 46 million for next fiscal year. Again, 61% of our budget is coming from property taxes. And you'll see there that state appropriations has remained constant in the last 4 years. As Dr. Ramirez mentioned earlier, right now we still are waiting on numbers from the state, and those will probably come in sometime mid-July. All indications are that we're not going to lose any state funding, so at least we will be receiving what we're currently receiving. And hopefully we'll receive more so that we can apply that to the budget deficit that we currently have as part of the process. And as I mentioned here, you just see the percentage or the breakdown of the revenues and what percentage it makes up when we look at the total budget. Like I mentioned, state funding for 23 is at 17%. Tuition and fees, 21%. Local taxes is 61%, and other revenues is 1%. So again, if you look at the lines there, you see that in the gray, that represents the tuition and fees. We've actually are receiving a little bit more on tuition and fee revenue than state appropriations. Hopefully that will change with this upcoming biennium. And you'll see that the blue line, which represents property taxes, obviously makes more than half of our budget this current year and possibly next fiscal year. So these are the initial budget requests.
Chair recognizes Mr. Muir.
Madam Chair and board members, Mr. Fell, I just wanted to make a brief comment about the property taxes. Just know that we've looked at that carefully. About 4 or 5 months ago, as I started looking very closely at the numbers, I started having more meetings with our team and trying to strategically figure out how we can increase or keep this goal that we have at 99%, toward the end of the year. One of the things that we did is to increase lawsuit filings. LISD did it as well. As you know, we collect property taxes for LISD. And that's always a touchy situation. Suing earlier, property taxes become delinquent on February 1. If you sue somebody a month or two after delinquency, you can get some blowback from taxpayers. But this is obviously an extremely important revenue source for the college. And what we've seen, and I had a conversation with a county attorney yesterday about this, they've seen that as you could guess, inflation, high interest rates,
exactly.
It's making it more difficult for taxpayers to come in and pay. We've seen it with businesses, we've seen it with individuals, and we're going to do the best we can. The comment also I wanted to make is that when we started collecting taxes, I went and looked at it again this afternoon for Laredo College. The tax collection rate was the history showed it in the upper 80s, low 90s. So, and I mentioned this to Dr. Ramirez yesterday, when we got up to 99%, I was very surprised, quite frankly. I was going, how did we do this? As you know, we have about 5 full-time staff members, and we keep close track of this. So it's a hard number to get to. And you do have a tax collector that does a good job at collecting taxes too. She collects current year before they become delinquent, but we start pitching in aggressively when they become delinquent. We're going to do our best to get to 99% today, or rather this fiscal year for you. There are some challenges. And then, as you saw, I was surprised by that number. I saw a few minutes ago, property valuations have gone up 21%. It affects everybody. And imagine the folks that are lower income that struggle to make ends meet, and groceries have gone up 20%. Some items are more than that. It's really it's a challenge. And inflation is proving to be hard to bring down. So I think there's going to be a challenge next year as well. Believe me, we'll stay on it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Chair recognizes Mrs. Vela.
Back to that, I know my husband went to, I don't know what you call it, at the tax appraisers, or, because they went up. What is it, appeal, or what is it? What is it?
The appeal.
The protest.
And he said the line was, outside to appeal, because it's insane how much it's gone up.
And the board that
And that's
is aggressive, and they don't want to come down.
No.
I had a full-blown hearing with them about a week and a half ago with
Yeah.
a client, and they would not budge. Yeah, evidence is presented, I don't care. I think they're trying to catch up. I don't know if I've heard that over the past few years, that, we need to bring the values where they should be market-wise, and
It's just, it's insane.
It's insane.
It really is.
Thank you.
So when we talk about the initial requests that came in, these are the requests that came in from all the operating departments within the institution. We'll start first with the category 61, which are the salaries. And so what you see here is TASB's recommendation. And this is a 3% general pay increase across the board for all eligible employees. And like I mentioned, the cost for that would be $1 million. Included with that proposal was adjustments to minimum, and these are all positions that, as the scales are moving, would fall below the minimum pay range. And the cost for that would be $62,987. Placement scale adjustments, and again, as the scale is moving, there are some positions that need to be realigned. That would be $232,315. We do have some faculty scale adjustments to years 10 and 20. And again, this is because the scale needs to be realigned, and that cost would be $33,380. And also included in the general pay increase are the employees that have reached the max of that range. We currently have 13 employees, 10 faculty members, and 3 administrative professionals. And the cost for that would be $28,959. So the total cost for the TASB recommendations would be $1,357,923. Now, as far as other items that are included in salaries, and as Ms. Vela mentioned earlier, there is the overload and the other items that are included as part of our budget. And for that, the proposal for next fiscal year is to have a budget of $1.1 million for overloads and overtime pay. Other salary items, which include your differential pay for department chairs and those faculty that are in high demand programs, that would be a total cost of $1,378,398. And included in the other salary items are also your stipends that are paid out. And part-time and adjunct salaries, that would be $3.5 million. So the total salaries for next fiscal year, or the proposed salaries for next fiscal year, would be $39,686,787. I'm sorry. That's a 3.21% increase from the current budget. As far as fringe benefits, we haven't gotten an indication that the premiums for the health insurance will remain the same. So looking at our current budget, we have enough in our budget right now to cover that cost. So the $9.7 million includes $4.7 for health insurance payments, includes $2.6 million for the Social Security match, includes approximately about $1.3 million for TRS matching, and another $880,000 for ORP matching. And then we do have other couple of line items like insurances and your tuition and fee matching for dependents. So again, the total budget for fringe benefits would be $9,779,197, about a 0.5% increase from the current budget. So when we look at total salaries and benefits, from a $48.1 million budget this year, we would be going to $49,465,984, or 2.67% increase. As far as the items that have been requested for operations, those totaled $24,868,243, and those are made up of all the items that you see there from line item 71 through line item 78. So for equipment, we're looking at right now the request coming in at $7,905,821. That's a $3.8 million increase from the current budget. For supplies, and this includes also software, $3,079,523. An increase of $892,593 for this coming year. Student expenses includes scholarships and student travel, $801,388. Miscellaneous, and this is primarily bad debt expense, $354,565, and this is all of what we're projecting would be our uncollectible accounts for next year. So we're projecting that it will be around $300,000 of all the transactions, $300,000 for that line item. Professional development, $1.3 million, an increase of $457,000. And category 78 contracted services, $11.4 million, an increase of $1.2 million. So overall, we're looking at an increase of $8,043,770 based on the requests that came in and based on the proposed salary adjustments. And that represents a 12.13% increase from the current budget. Yes.
Madam Chair. Chair recognizes Ms. Arizona.
Mr. Vela, question, does this budget already include the request from the police department? I know last year they had some request, and it was concerning the amount of equipment that they had was very low. I'm not talking about the academy, I'm talking about our actual police body within our campus.
Yes, so you are correct. So we did purchase equipment for campus police this fiscal year. My understanding is that as part of the request this year, they have put a line item for additional equipment. Mostly, I believe they're looking at body cams this fiscal year. So yes, so what you see there on category 71 includes equipment requests that came in from the individual departments, including campus police.
Ms. President, can you please meet with them just to make sure that everything has been covered in terms of the needs that they have for their department? Because just to make sure, not only body cameras, but I remember that in terms of actual equipment, it had been like divided among both campuses, and they have very limited supplies at that time.
Yes, ma'am. We have, actually, Chief Hill, our interim police chief, has done a needs assessment.
Okay.
And Dr. Ariasola and he and I have met to discuss some of the needs assessments, and we're working with Mr. Vela because some of those things were budgeted this year and just hadn't been purchased. Other things were purchased and just hadn't come in, and so we're on top of that. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the?
Chair recognizes Mrs. Ramos.
Mr. Vela, on the part-time and adjunct salaries, and then the overload and the overtime, why is it at a negative? Is it because we didn't use that money, or?
So these are actually requests that are made by the departments. So looking at their schedules, at their activity, they determined that for next fiscal year, what they had in their budgets this year was enough. And in some cases, they actually made some cuts to bring that number down. So it is based on history, on what they're seeing as far as their budgets and their actuals. So this is one of those particular line items that the department will go and do an analysis and a review of schedules, classes, and they'll adjust that budget.
Not less classes are being offered.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Ms. Elizondo?
Yes, I had expressed in the past the need to have additional funding for student expenses, particularly for the liberal arts departments. I know that acquiring those type of additional things that they need, like costumes or instruments or paintings, all of those things are extremely expensive. So it will be really nice to have like additional funds or grants or scholarships for students who are in need to purchase those and do not have the necessary means to purchase them. Thank you.
So now when we look at how some of these items will be funded, looking at the projected revenue for next fiscal year, based on semester credit hour generation, and this is based on projections, we're looking at tuition and fee revenue of $12,290,147. For state appropriations, we have it highlighted. We are currently using the current biennium number, which is $11,248,896. As far as what the amount will be for the next biennium is still pending, and like I mentioned earlier, we should have that number hopefully by the middle of July. All we know is that we're at least not going to get less than the 11.2 right now. So there is a clause there that would hold harmless all institutions that would lose funding for this coming biennium. So we're being conservative. We're using the 11.2 million that we're currently receiving from the state. Tax revenue, we're projecting that based on the valuations and the proposed tax rate and the collection rate, we will have tax revenue of $44,218,028. Now, again, we will probably be looking at this number and maybe making adjustments based on the collection rate. So we'll work on that number, and as we continue to work with the budget, we'll update the board on that. And then for other revenue, we have projected that we'll receive 2.6 million. And the increase here is attributed to the 1.7 million that we're projecting in additional investment income. So the total revenue for next fiscal year, the projected revenue would be $70,417,071. So when we look at the request and the projected revenue, we currently have a budget deficit of $3,917,155. At this point last year, our deficit was at 2.2 million. So again, right now, the budget committee is currently working on trying to bring that number down. And we'll go over some possible strategies to do that, try to balance that budget. So here's just a brief history of our general operating budget. So in 2017, our budget was at 54.3 million. The proposed budget for 2024 stands at $70,417,071. Again, right now, based on revenue, that will represent an increase of 6% from the current budget of $66,290,455. The initial request came in, like I mentioned, 8 million above the current fiscal year, which is about 12.13% more than the current fiscal year. So we do have some work to do, again, to bring that number down. The deficit, as I mentioned, stands at 3.9 million. So some of the recommendations that are being made to reduce the deficit is obviously use any increase in state appropriation revenue to reduce budget deficit. So again, if we do have a positive outcome, the additional revenue would help reduce that budget deficit. Reduce contracted services requests by 10%. So that is a task that we will be doing as part of the budget committee, reviewing contracted services, and our target would be to reduce it by 10%. And then reduce equipment requests. We did receive over 200 individual requests for equipment. So far, we've only reviewed about 25% of that list. We have reduced a couple of items, but as of our last meeting, we had the budget committee had already approved 1.7 million in equipment for next fiscal year. That's $400,000 more than what was approved last fiscal year. And we've only reviewed 25%. So,
Chair recognizes Ms. Elizondo.
yes. Yes, of course. So the majority of the equipment that has been reviewed so far has to do with instruction. The majority has to do with technology in the classrooms. So it's an emphasis that we're trying to put in this year's budget. As we move forward, we want to make sure that the technology in the classrooms is upgraded to match not only what other institutions have, but to match what the current school districts have, obviously, trying to keep up with technology. And some other items that have already been approved are for our workforce programs, primarily the truck driving programs, the diesel technology program. So they're requesting equipment for the labs. So it's been hard, right? Because it is equipment that will benefit our students. It is for the classrooms. And so the committee has been very adamant that those are items that need to be addressed in this year's budget. Now, something that hasn't been part or is not being proposed at this time is in the past we've used savings.
Leftover?
Yes, to address some of these equipment requests. So far right now, we're trying to do it out of the operating budget, not the savings, but that is a possible strategy that can be used if the budget committee determines that some of these items are a need. and then we need to purchase them for next year's operations.
Chair recognizes Mrs. Vela and then Dr. Ramirez.
This is one area that I have a problem with. I'm sorry. This is one area that I have a problem with reducing, because we're competing with the districts. And my God, there's no comparison with the computer system, everything that they have that we don't even come close to, besides the fact that our workforce area, we just saw at the meeting this past Thursday, where, the simulators, the truck driving, I mean, that's our bread and butter right there. Our whole community. So I think, if anything needs help in not reducing, it's in equipment for instruction.
So one of the areas, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, so one of the areas that is really strongly, I think we need to look at. We have so many classrooms that are set up as computer labs.
Yes.
And they're not used as computer labs, right? I think there's newer technology that would help us in restructuring those computer labs or classroom computer labs. I'll give you an example. We have 2 computer labs in the library. And every time you walk through there, one is never used, which is the one they're using for the committee meetings. And the other is, you may have 2 or 3 students in that computer classroom, maybe. Ideally, even faculty should have stations where their desktop is their laptop, and they should be able to dock their computer in whatever room they go to. So that whatever presentation they're doing, whatever work they're doing, they should be able to lock in their computer and be able to pull up whatever assignments or work or whatever they're doing. And if they have half the class online and half the class face-to-face, they should be able to interact using their own equipment. It keeps us from having to create those carts that traveling teachers used to use, which are really no longer relevant.
That's right.
And so, and then they work sometimes, and then they don't work sometimes, and then there's this, you lose instructional time doing that. I know that the committee is looking at a lot of different options for how do we increase the level of use of technology. If COVID taught us anything, was to be prepared for everything. And in this case, I think that's one of the major discussions is, if it were ever to happen again, then what? All of these students that are coming to us from the schools are coming with Chromebooks. They all have one.
They all have one.
They've been given one already. Now, how do we interact with Chromebooks? That's the other question. And do we interact with Chromebooks? And how do we make laptops available to our students for those that don't have one? And we should be making them available. There's still students that don't have Wi-Fi at home. So how do we make that available? And so that now, in moving a lot of our infrastructure into the cloud, is going to give us an elevated sense of opportunity. But at the same time, if you don't have the hardware to go with it, then, you're still behind the 8 ball. But you're absolutely correct. There are lots of other areas, like the CDL truck driving school, that there are huge opportunities. We see that especially in our health sciences. How do we manage and maintain and upgrade the equipment we use there? Because it should be state-of-the-art. We should be teaching state-of-the-art. Many of our graduates don't all stay here, and they go to other hospitals where technology is the foundation of the work that they do. And they need to be prepared to do that.
That's right.
So thank you for your comment. I appreciate that.
Mrs. Ramos?
So I just wanted to offer a suggestion. So if you have interactive flat panels in the classrooms, you can upgrade them using the Kingston DDS, which is, you're not gonna upgrade the panel itself, you're gonna upgrade the computer. When you talk about all the computer labs that you have available, if they're running slow and you don't need to replace the whole computer, you could just replace it with that little device. $30, maybe $40 the most. What we started doing at our campus is we saw that the need for the 5-year plan was coming up. So we started talking about how we were upgrading the computers and the computer labs and so forth. So we ended up working on those devices. And then the district said, okay, never mind, we're going to replace all the monitors, the teacher monitors, teacher computers in the classroom. So they're doing all that. And they're also, the interactive flat panels, they're getting that replaced. Only the computer in the back, not the screen itself. And what we had already purchased, we're utilizing it to put into the ones that were not addressed, like the computer labs that were not addressed. So we looked at all of the administration, the not only the classrooms, but also the offices and so forth. And so from there, we're working now on a 5-year plan going forward because our school is only about, it's going on our 7th year. So the stuff that we bought in the first year is already, yeah. So some suggestion for that might be, to look into that. And we can talk later and I can mention some of the suggestions that we've done. And we've also received the monies from separate items that they had, like they're still working with federal funding and stuff like that for those items. You might want to, if there's going to be a replacement of these things on a 5-year plan, then start working on getting it from the fund balance for right now. But if you're only addressing those, because what is the maximum life of each of the devices, Going back to the Chromebooks. So the Chromebooks are issued in 5th, in 9th, and then in 12, they set it for $25. So they're already 4 or 5 years old. So anybody that's coming with a Chromebook here to take classes has an old Chromebook that's 4 or 5 years old. Now, it doesn't save anything. So that's why you can use it kind of like a perpetual,
The Google Classroom.
The Google Classroom, yes. So, but they're selling those for $25. And then after that, the kids that do buy their own, well, they buy their own. But again, it has to be 4 years old, 4 or 5 years old for them to sell it at $25.
So if I may respond, we did start a refresh program. And so the refresh program is scheduled. Now, I will tell you that we have faculty that still have monitors that are this big.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I mean, that is unacceptable.
Right.
And so it is very hard now with all of the software platforms that we're using to manage and maintain and have everything at your fingertips when you have a monitor that's this big and you have 7 screens open. And you're trying to teach from all 7 screens, or you're trying to prepare or plan or grade or from those 7 screens. It's impossible.
Right.
And so, you're right. I mean, you don't always have to replace a monitor, but in our case, in some areas, we definitely need to replace monitors because they're tiny. Like, I couldn't work.
And for teachers, for the classrooms, you could do the monitors for the teachers, but then you also have to take into consideration what do they have in their offices.
No, that's what I'm talking about. In their offices, they're this big.
Yeah.
They have the old ones,
Yeah. So,
leftovers.
fund balance.
Yes, so, and we'll take a look at all those options.
So when we're replacing, are we going with the older models first?
Yes.
Or are we doing, okay, so you all got monitors 2 years ago, let me redo them again? What about the older?
No.
We're going with the older
Yes,
first.
they're looking at the user service or the lifespan of the computer, and if it's an old piece of equipment, that takes priority. As Dr. Ramirez mentioned, one of the items is obviously looking at the utilization of some of these labs, right? And so if we don't need to replace all of that equipment, then certainly we won't.
Yes.
But to answer your question on the refresh, so the idea is all of the oldest equipment goes first, and then you put that on a 5-year rotation, right? Right? And so every year, you're going to be rotating the equipment you bought 5 years ago. Eventually, we'll catch up, right?
Yeah.
And so, but right now, the most critical is definitely going to be to make sure that every faculty member, every office personnel has adequate equipment to function and be effective in their work every day. So.
Okay. Anything else? No. Okay.
So the next item is the tax rate evaluation information. So what you see here is the current tax rate, and 2022, again, I know that we're fiscal year 23, but the tax rate that is being used is the 2022 tax rate. That is currently, the total tax rate currently at 28.7 cents. 23 cents of that is for M&O, or maintenance and operations, and the debt service rate is at 5 cents. The proposed tax rate for 2023 is 25 cents. That is a reduction of almost 4 cents, 3.7 cents, or 12.98% reduction on the tax rate. So the maintenance and operation rate would be at 20.5 cents, and the debt service rate would be at 4.5 cents, for a total tax rate of 25 cents. Again, that's a reduction of 12.98 on the tax rate, and this is based on obviously increased valuations and adopting a proposed or adopting a rate that would be below the, above the no new revenue tax rate. The average homestead taxable value last year was 167,918. So based on the 28-cent tax rate, that the tax on the average homestead would be $483.33. The proposed tax rate of 25 cents using the average homestead taxable value of 188,328 would produce a tax on of $471.73. That's a reduction of $12, and again, this is based on the average homestead taxable value. So that represents a 2.40% reduction. Again, this is all based on the taxable value of the property of the individual taxpayer. So the total tax levy on all properties in 2022 was $53,252,923, and that includes both the maintenance and operations and the debt service. For this coming fiscal year, the proposed tax levy, based on the proposed tax rate and the valuation information, would be $57,163,150. That's an increase of $3.9 million, or an increase of 7.34% on the tax levy. Any questions on the tax rate?
No.
So the final item that we have is just to go over the timeline of the next set of activities that will be occurring as part of the budget process. So we are anticipating that the certification of the tax rolls will be completed the last week of July. So we have tentatively scheduled that for July 27th. Right after, we'll set up the 72-hour notice for the meeting to certify the collection rate, the calculation of the effective and rollback tax rate, and then obviously have a vote on the proposed tax rate. And so that's tentatively scheduled for August 3rd, 2023. And if we propose a tax rate that will be above the no new revenue tax rate, we'll have to schedule a series of public hearings. So The first public hearing is being proposed for August 10th. And the second one would be the date that we will meet to adopt the tax rate and budget, and that would be August 24th of 2023. In case we do have any adjustments or any changes that need to be made to the budget, we would then have a second meeting on August 31st, 2023 to present the finalized budget for approval. Our intent is to present a balanced budget for approval on August 24th, 2023. But again, this is a tentative schedule. Obviously, dates are subject to change. But please mark those dates on your calendars because we will need the board's participation for that.
That'll be the full support of the board, correct?
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Muro?
You would need the full,
I would need a quorum
that's right, absolutely.
for all the workshops and the meetings, is that correct? Or not the workshops, but the public meetings.
The public meeting, yeah, I would have a quorum here.
I would have to have a quorum. Chair recognizes Mrs. Ramos.
Mr. Vela, can you go back to that slide, the projected revenue? Projected revenue, tuition and fees, state appropriations, tax revenue, right there. So that 44 million on the tax revenue is from the levy, that's the tax rate and valuation information, right?
Yes, the 44 represents only the maintenance and operations portion of it. And then it is
The rest
reduced,
is that.
it is reduced at 1%. We're using a 99% collection rate.
And then so the one that we know because we received it before is the state appropriations, right? So we're going with what we had received last.
Yes, so for right now, the budget, the projected revenue is only taking into account the 11.2, which is the current amount that's appropriated under the current biennium.
Okay.
So hopefully if there's an increase, then that will be factored into the projected revenue to help either offset some of the deficit or make adjustments in other.
And then the tuition and fees is based on the previous history, right?
So it is, yes, it is based on semester credit hour generation, which is current for this year. And then we are adjusting it up because our target is to hit 5% growth. But again, the calculation is using a 3% when it comes to the tuition and fees. So it is a 3% increase from the current semester credit hours that have been generated this fiscal year.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Vela.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Looks good. So next item is number 7, our next meeting date, and that's going to be determined. Elizabeth will let us know.
Well, for sure, July 13th.
Oh, July 13th.
July
correct.
14th for sure.
Is the next board meeting.
No vacation.
No vacation, July 13th, 6 p.m.
Work around it. Work around it.
Put it on your calendar because I do need to have a quorum on that date. Next item is, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
So I have a motion by Ms. Ramos, I have a second by
Ms. Vela.
Ms. Vela.
Ms. Vela, would you like to make the motion to adjourn?
Motion to, yes.
Second.
Adjourn.
Any discussion? None heard. Hi, Cindy. And motion, everybody's okay with adjourning? All in favor? Aye.
Hi.
Aye, aye.
Aye, aye. Aye, aye. Aye, aye.
Thank you. Adjourn.
Yeah, but we have to get it so you can fill it out.
Just get
She's
the
gonna email it to
paperwork
you.
from.
She's gonna email everything to
Yes.
everybody.
Mhm.